All right, everybody ready? Okay. The May 26, 2020 regular meeting of the Hawthorne City Council is called to order with all members present. I will ask City Treasurer David Patterson to please do the invocation today. And we will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Eric Lee. So everyone please stand. Well, everybody, invocation first, please.
Let us bow our heads. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us together again to this day. Please bless our city, our residents, our businesses, all the elected officials to do what's best for the community. Please continue to lead us, out of darkness into a better day. Appreciate you. We love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please stand.
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, welcome everyone. Today's a very important day. We have a lot of things to do, a lot of things to discuss, how to move the city forward, and to also help our residents to protect them during this situation that we have right now with the COVID-19. Very special welcome to Assistant City Manager Eric Lee. Welcome to the city of Hawthorne in your new capacity.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here and just looking forward to serving the great city of Hawthorne.
Okay, awesome. We know you'd be contributing. You'll be supporting our city manager, Arnie Shadver, who's a standard bearer here. So you can just imagine you're going to have somebody that's just going to be working with you and guiding you along and making good things happen together as a team, right, Eric?
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor.
So I'm going to start off with Councilmember Valentine, who has a presentation on the agenda, the South Bay Council of Governments Fiber Infrastructure Project with Josh Armstrong. You can proceed.
Yes. Yes, thank you. I want to bring Josh Armstrong on to talk about the South Bay Fiber Network. It has been my pleasure to work with Jackie Bacharach and the South Bay COG to bring the South Bay Fiber Network to the South Bay. This is the network that is the underpinning to making us a smart city. So I'm going to let Josh talk about what the fiber network means to us and what its potential is. So Josh, are you ready?
Yes.
Thank you. Please go right ahead.
Good evening. Yes, this is the second and final presentation on the South Bay Council of Governments Final Fiber Ring Project that would be providing internet access to the city. First off, I'd like to thank the COG and its partners in setting up the ring and securing the Measure N funding to cover the build-out costs so that there was no cost to the city to install the project. This project was initially started in 2016 and is designed to create at least regional fiber ring that would connect all the South Bay cities together, as well as allowing connections to some of the other non-municipal government entities that are in the area. This high-speed data network has many benefits and will be part of the foundation of smart city initiatives throughout the South Bay moving forward. Tonight before the council will be a resolution to ratify a 3-year internet services contract with Race Communications that rides on top of this fiber network. It will be replacing the city's secondary ISP provider, Sprint. This new internet link is substantially larger than the old link and will take advantage of the COGS group pricing. This new link will also provide future growth as we continue to build out our online services to the community and the city staff, as well as the ever-growing services that are provided by the Hawthorne Public Safety Cloud. Again, thank you to the South Bay Council of Government. And with that, I'd like to entertain any questions.
So, Josh, this is Olivia Valentine. Can you just tell us what are some of the things you expect to be able to accomplish because of the South Bay Fiber Network and the 5G network that we now will have?
The network's going to provide for a much higher speed data connections between us and our regional partners so that we can share information. We can provide redundant paths such that the buses, fire engines, police radio communications can all transverse the network.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and I have no further questions. And with that, I'd like to ask the mayor if we could move up resolution number 8200 so that we can vote on it now. Can we do that?
Can we bring that, Mr. City Attorney? Is that something we need to do right after the presentations as the first item of business?
You're certainly welcome to do it, but you have to ask if there are any oral communications for that item.
Can we do it now? Or is that like out of order? It's like completely out of order?
You've done it before,
So we just
but
go,
you can certainly ask Paul if there have been any oral communications on that particular item.
Mr. City Clerk, can you let us know? Are there any specific items on that number?
No, they are not.
Okay. So what is the exact item number?
It's item resolution number 8200, item 18.
So what I'm going to do is bring that item up unless there's any opposition to that. Is everybody in accord with that? Is everybody okay with that?
That's fine.
Okay, nobody against it? Okay. So I'm going to call for the vote. I make a motion or
I second it.
Can I ask Arnie a quick question, please?
okay, go ahead.
Okay, Arnie, the amount of money for the network is cheaper than what we used to pay before?
It is comparable, Mayor Pro Tem.
Uh-huh. So it's just because it's going to be much faster than what we have currently, correct?
Yes, and it is regionally being provided through all South Bay cities.
Okay. Thank you, Arnie. No problem.
You want me to go ahead and read it?
Yeah, you
Yes.
need to read it. Yes.
Okay. Item 18, resolution number 8200, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hawthorne, California, approving a master products and services agreement with Race Telecommunications for backup internet services on the SBC COG fiber network for adoption.
Can you please call for the vote? It's already been moved and seconded.
All right. Councilmember Wad,
Yes.
Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda,
Yes.
Councilmember Valentine,
Yes.
Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
All right, the vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
Okay, we'll go back to the presentation section of the agenda. Councilmember Montero has a presentation on an update on State and County of Los Angeles Plan of Action as it relates to reopening the city of Hawthorne with Mr. Samuel English. Please proceed.
Okay, actually, I'm going to call on Arnie to introduce his guests because I know Samuel, through via email, and I saw him one or twice. But I think Arnie, do me a favor, just introduce your guests about the presentation. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, sure. At first, I thought you were referring to our Assistant City Manager, Mr. Lee, because I was really excited to introduce him. He's a great addition to our team in the city of Hawthorne. So as far as Mr. English, Mr. Sam English is our risk specialist, and at the same time, he took over responsibilities of Neil Gaffney, who was temporarily helping us with emergency coordinating tasks. And And now Mr. English is involved on a daily basis with Area G, that is a committee that connects LA County to all cities in South Bay. We used to have, monthly meetings back then, but nothing is happening. But currently, with the COVID-19 situation, they are having like daily meetings and updates. That's all I can say, and I let Mr. English speak and introduce himself.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council. I'm here to provide an overview of our Disaster Management Area Coordination Program, known as Area G. First, I would like to give everyone a brief history on disaster management, how it was created in Los Angeles County. And in the first weeks of World War II, the National Civil Defense Program was activated. Los Angeles County and the local military authorities quickly recognized that the size and complexity of the county would require a unique management structure to effectively coordinate war-related activities amongst the county, cities, private sector, and other agencies supporting the war effort. The Civil Defense Areas was formed, and an area coordinator supervisor was assigned to each area. So, as you know, the County of Los Angeles is divided into 8 disaster management areas. They are assigned letters A through H. The city of Hawthorne, along with other cities, South Bay cities, are part of Area G. And our district is managed by Jeffrey Robinson, and he is our Disaster Management Area Coordinator, also known as a DMAC. The city of Hawthorne has an EOC Operational Center and located in the basement of City Hall. We also have 3 EOC coordinators, which are Lieutenant Amy Yoshida, Sergeant Chris Wiley, and myself. As you know, disaster management has evolved over the years to avoid the potential losses from hazards, assure prompt and appropriate assistance to victims of disaster, and achieve rapid and effective recovery. I'd like to reiterate that there are 8 districts in the County of Los Angeles, and each DMAC, again, Disaster Management Area Coordinator, they work with their city partners, agencies to assist in emergency management activities. They act as a liaison between local government, county, state, and federal agencies. As you know, we are in unprecedented times with the outbreak of the coronavirus, known as COVID-19. Information about the virus continues to change rapidly, and we have to keep up with this information. Our Area G DMAC, Jeffrey Robinson, again, partners with agencies and act as a liaison between the local government, county, state, and federal agencies. He also, some of his duties to assist the area cities is to disseminate emergency management information received from the federal, state, county, and provide that information to the area cities, which he controls. Also, we conduct daily calls with the area cities. As you know, the City of Hawthorne EOCs are, again, Lieutenant Amy Yoshida, Sergeant Wiley, and myself. We discuss the daily situation relating to the coronavirus, the different phases of the county's plan in which we follow in regards to opening and other aspects of the development of the virus. Also, Mr. Robinson, he worked with the operational area and development and submission of required federal state documents. We participate with the operational area County Office of Emergency Management in operating, planning, exercise, and training our specific districts. We also attend pertinent federal, state, operational area, and other training programs and provide seminars for the Area G cities. He also assists with the planning and training exercise that moves cities closer to a credentialing process for area coordinator operators. Lastly, disseminate, again, this is very important, and he disseminates the information to us every day on our daily calls regarding the COVID-19 situation. And we are to keep our residents, first of all, city leadership, our city council, and our residents informed of the fluid situation. To some, the city has an EOC operations coordinators. As I mentioned earlier, they are Lieutenant Amy Yoshida, Sergeant Wiley, and myself. The city, we are designated to Area G along with other South Bay cities. And our main goal is to disseminate information to our city leadership, city council, and citizens to protect them in times of disaster and pandemics, such as the one we are currently dealing with now, which is COVID-19. I'd like to thank you for your time and the opportunity to present this information to you. And I turn it over to Captain Tomatani.
Just a moment. That's a separate item, but no. But thank you, Sam. Thank you for your presentation. We're gonna put out a request for any comments or questions for you right now. Does anybody have any questions for Sam English?
I have a question. I have some questions.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Good evening, Sam. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Councilwoman Valentine.
So the first thing I want to ask you is about the houses of worship, because the last guidance that we received was that the last written guidance was that houses of worship were to remain closed. But I understand that changed over the weekend, and now they're allowing houses of worship to open. And I want to know what specific guidance do we have about that?
Oh, great question. Thank you. You are correct that the situation changes rapidly, and houses of worships are beginning to reopen, and they are following the guidance of the CDC all the way down to state and local guidance, such as social distancing, cleaning, disinfecting. I'd like to alert all the mayor pro tem, as well as the council members, that a new amended health order is coming out, and that will have more guidance on that, and that will be provided to you as well.
I have another question about the wearing of masks. Now, I understand that because of the social distancing order, the stores, anyone that opens up their retail establishment, their employees have to wear masks, and they can ask that the public wear masks when they come in the store. But I don't think there is anything mandating the public to wear masks when they go in the store. Is there such a mandate? And if not, I'm going to suggest that we create one. I'd like to know whether they are requiring that anyone who goes inside a retail establishment wear a mask.
Yeah, great question. At this point, as you to reiterate what you said, all employees are required to wear masks, and there's nothing that is really binding at this point. The city of Los Angeles is only requiring everyone to wear a mask. I agree with your assessment. We should have some type of ordinance requesting anyone going into any type of retail establishment wear a mask to protect not only themselves but others.
Thank you. That's all I have.
To the chair. To the chair.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Samuel, thank you very much for your presentation, and thank you for the daily updates that you constantly sending us via email about the County of Los Angeles and the Health Department orders. I much appreciate all the work that you and your team has been doing. I understand that the governor, right, yesterday put some orders out, some protocol, and then the County of Los Angeles, they're meeting today in downtown LA, the County of Los Angeles Board of Supervisors. So tomorrow we will have a new health orders based on their meeting, correct?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Great question. You are absolutely right. That has been a major point of discussion today on our calls. We are awaiting an amended health order that supersedes all previous orders. And as soon as that arrives, I will make sure you and everyone else have a copy of it. And we need to read it carefully because there's specific information that applies to the reopening process as the county moves into phase 2, in which we have to follow as well.
To the chair again. Yes, because there is a lot of confusion a little bit out there because, the CDC put some protocol guidelines, and then the governor put his own guidelines, and then he allows the counties to create their own policies and protocols to guide the cities of Los Angeles County. And we are one of those counties that is being very slow to reopen, correct?
Yes, sir. Great. Yes, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of confusion and going on right now. And we're moving rather slowly and to prevent another increase in infections. But we are following the county's lead on this, correct?
To the chair, last question. Just to update, confirm is I'm correct. So right now, Hawthorne, we have about 369 positive cases.
That is correct. I think the numbers have just increased, and I will provide an update for you tomorrow, if that's okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, that's fine. Samuel, again, thank you very much, and continue to do outstanding work. I much appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I appreciate it.
Through the chair, I would like to address a couple of issues here. When we say we are moving slow, it's we means LA County, not City of Hawthorne.
Yeah.
And then also a county order just came up as Sam was giving its presentation. I can forward the new county order to all elected. Yes, it does address the houses of worship up to 25% of their previous capacity or 100. Whichever is less is considered max. Also, a great news, retail stores can open. This is a order that came up just now, and this is great. We welcome this. Now all retail stores can open up to their 50% of their capacity. So we are going to address all these issues. Only one thing I was going to mention about putting more restrictions than LA County experts, health experts are imposing. It is extremely difficult to enforce them. When we talk about individual resident citizens following these orders, when we pass an ordinance locally in Hawthorne, enforcement is extremely difficult. And it requires a great number of manpowers to go to different establishments, retails, to enforce. So my humble recommendation at this point is let's follow county health officer order. These orders are coming from experts in the field, from epidemiologists and doctors, and see how it develops. I'm going to send this new health officer order. We need to read it, and people are impatiently waiting for these orders. And I just received text messages and emails. Can we open? Can we open? This is coming from different establishments in Hawthorne. So they're following this closely because we know it is hurting our economy. Thank you.
To the chair.
Yes.
Okay, just another clarification out there. The fact is that some of the business, even retails or even the pickup, takeout restaurants, they have to create their own policy, how they would like the customers or for the clients that come into their store. So they have to post that notice outside their doors that would say, you have to use masks, you have to be 6 feet distant, physical distance. So they have to create their own policy. The county and the city can recommend what they would like to see, but each individual business, when they reopen, they have to have a list post outside their doors, specifically giving customers guidelines, how they want them to behave in this COVID-19 era. So some of them, for example, because I already received some of them for the preschool and also for the Moose Lodge, that we have to post that you want them to be, face masks, have to constantly wash their hands, have sanitizer at hand. So all these guidelines have to be posted in individual business. And you can, when you go to Target or to Costco, you can see they already have some of those outside their doors. Thank you. Again, thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
I'd like to just one more question or comment. One more comment, actually. So I really would like to make it a mandate that customers going into retail establishments or those gathering in groups wear masks. What is the best way to propose that? And I'm going to address this to the city attorney.
I'll write you a legal confidential and get that to you tomorrow.
But I do, through the chair, Russell, I do support Ms. Valentine's idea, but I don't know if we can, reinforce that, but we can recommend, that is right, recommend for people to use masks. I do support Ms. Valentine's suggestion.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll move on to, I understand the police department has a presentation from Captain Tomatani. Captain Tomatani, are you there?
Yep. Hey, Cap.
Captain Tomatani.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having us. I just wanted to provide the council and the department heads a quick update on what we have been doing since the COVID-19 pandemic began, what seems like an eternity ago, back on March 20th. And then I did receive the new updated public health order, so I can address a couple of those two questions, but I'll do that at the end. I've been making changes to my presentation while Sam has been talking as a result of the new public health order that just came out. But to begin internally, we've consistently concentrated here at the police department on striking the right balance between providing law enforcement services to our community, which is obviously very, very important, but we've had to balance that with maintaining a work environment for our own police department staff that was going to minimize their exposure to COVID-19. We could not afford to have this illness run rampant throughout our organization, which would essentially make us ineffective. So we've been balancing those two priorities since the beginning of the pandemic. Part of that effort has focused on providing our own staff with the necessary supplies they need to protect themselves when they're making contact with members of the public and engaging in their regular law enforcement activities. So that includes things like masks, gloves, eye protection, and disinfectant supplies so that they can clean their workstations, desks, computers, and police cars on a regular basis. And we've been able to implement policies and recommendations to our staff members to ensure that they are doing that. All of that stuff has a positive effect on our ability to function as a police department during these trying times. And we're happy that as of yet, we have not had a single confirmed case of COVID-19 infection for any police department employee. We adjusted every single employee's work schedules immediately at the beginning of the pandemic for the primary reason of building in redundancy. We wanted to make sure that if a significant percentage of our work staff had to be quarantined as a result of an exposure, that we had separated our workforce so that we could, again, redistribute our work staff to continue to provide the level of law enforcement services that the community of Hawthorne needs. We've been incredibly fortunate to have recently brought on Officer Nakagawa to our payroll. Officer Nakagawa, for those of you who don't know, also is a board-certified emergency room physician, and we've relied on him heavily on a daily basis, bouncing any questions that we've had off of him. Several other department employees have also been fortunate to be able to bounce their personal situations off of Officer Nakagawa as well. He has, because of his medical background, he has the unique insight and ability to translate most of the recent trends involving COVID-19 so that Chief Ishii can make informed decisions on the provision of police services, our scheduling issues, and any sick leave issues that might arise. So we're very, very grateful to have him on board during the course of this. We've been learning a lot of lessons, both internal and external, as a result of COVID-19, and some of these lessons that we've learned have a pretty good chance of being implemented on a permanent basis, even after society has moved forward and successfully beaten the current pandemic. One of these things is a reliance on technology. We internally at the police department early on started relying on distance conferencing, very, very similar to what we're doing for tonight's city council meeting. And what we've learned is that this is a possible way to provide law enforcement services to the community moving forward from this point, even after COVID is gone. It means that a community member could log in on a distance conferencing application similar to what we're using today and contact a member of the police department to have a report taken if one can be taken. Then they don't have to wait for an officer to be available in the field, which could increase our response times. So technology plays a big role in what the lessons that we're learning, and we're trying to see if there is a reasonable way to implement technology in all future law enforcement operations here. Another option that we're exploring is online reporting. in which residents or businesses, if they happen to be a victim of a crime, would have an option to click a link on the city's website, the police department's website, or on a separate portal and submit a police report themselves. And then somebody could follow up with them after most of the information's been submitted for any specific pertinent information that we would need to continue with an investigation. So not everything that's coming out of COVID from the police department perspective has been a black hole, so to say. We're pretty excited about pursuing some of these potential technologies as we move forward into the future. Externally is a little bit of a more difficult question. Obviously, we're in a very, very fluid time. And, you know, as Sam was giving his presentation a minute ago, the public health order did come in and it did address some of the changes that the council persons were asking Sam. So what was de facto in law in place 20 minutes ago has changed, and we expect changes to be occurring on a daily basis at best or on a weekly basis at worst as the economy reopens. So for clarification purposes, because there's been a lot of miscommunication on various social media threads from government officials, thankfully not here in the city, but county officials making statements to the media that have been the source of misinformation and misinterpretation by many of us. The City of Hawthorne Police Department and all the other city departments have been following the orders of the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health. So if an Orange County official makes a comment about dine-in restaurants being open, we are not subject to that unless it's unless it's consistent with LA County Department of Public Health orders, all right? So the whole thing about retail services, retail stores and faith-based buildings came down from the State Department of Public Health, but it didn't have LA County approval until just now. So that is the rule of law that we're kind of trying to follow here at the City of Hawthorne. In regards to our enforcement abilities, any complaints about LA County Department of Public Health orders which are not being followed, our plan is to work in conjunction with city code enforcement officers. The city code enforcement officers will be the first responders and contact any businesses that potentially are open that should not be open, or any businesses that are open but not following the rules set forth by the County Department of Public Health. And our goal is education and compliance. We do recognize that everybody facing COVID-19 is in a very, very bad spot right now. People's livelihoods are at stake, and our goal is not to go out and punish the public with punitive means, but we do have to ensure that we're taking the proper steps to account for the public health as well. So we're gonna go out there and we're gonna try and educate members of the public, retail businesses, stores that are open, and gain their compliance. However, if we do come across a case where compliance can't be voluntarily gained via the code enforcement officers, our plan is to kind of hand off that complaint back to the LA County Department of Public Health. They have inspectors that have the legal authority to issue a shutdown order. Hopefully we'll never get to that point, but if that shutdown order is issued by the Los Angeles County Public Health inspectors, it provides the city with a couple of options, either to proceed criminally with the citation or administratively with the citation for either the business owner or possibly even the landlord. So those are our plans at this point in time. We continue to monitor our city parks, largely in thanks to Chief Ishii, Josh Armstrong, and the City Council for supporting our technology upgrades. We have cameras at the city park, so if we see large gatherings that are in violation of the county health orders, we can address those things remotely via a public address system. And by and large, the community here in Hawthorne we're grateful and very, very appreciative that the community here in Hawthorne has not been causing too many problems along those lines, right? Once in a while, we might have a big group, but they're not causing us any further problems other than we ask them to leave and they're leaving. So we've been very, very fortunate to this point. Unfortunately, if there is a situation where warnings to individual subjects don't suffice, then we do have the ability to issue citations based on the county public health orders. But again, we have not reached that point yet. And then finally, most importantly, We're going to continue to communicate with other city departments in regards to their needs and priorities. The police department oftentimes calls upon other city departments to ask for their assistance in us accomplishing our goals. And it's during times like this that we absolutely want to make ourselves and our resources available to other city departments so they can accomplish theirs. So the closest example I can give you to that is we're constantly in contact with the Recreation Department and with Mr. Norris and his staff to ensure that the parks are still under control, that nobody is utilizing the playground equipment or the exercise equipment in violation of those public health orders. So we want to make ourselves available to all city departments until we successfully defeat this current issue. So that's all I have, and if there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Any questions from anybody in the group?
To the chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Captain Tamatami, for your presentation. Well done. First, I want to commend you and Chief Ishii. You know, even for early days of the COVID-19, you guys were helping Costco control the crowd, you know, making sure that the business was running smooth. So thank you for that, to keep eye on our community. That was very important. Like you said, now COVID-19 have, you know, taught us a lot of lessons, and some of them could be positively done how we interact with our community out there. So thank you for that. One question that I have, maybe you guys can clarify this, because it was on the next door that the parking reinforcement was going to begin on June 1st for the cleaning side of the street when it's the cleaning day. But I've been seeing some tickets on some of the cars that are parking on the cleaning day already. So can you guys clarify that for me, please?
Sure. So what we have been doing for the 2-week period leading up to June 1st is we have been issuing written warnings on cars parked in violation of the current street sweeping schedule. Again, this is all based on, we do understand that people potentially are out of work and income is a big concern for our community members right now. And we didn't want to just flip the switch on a random day. It is June 1st. But we didn't want to flip the switch and start issuing street sweeping citations to members of the community without having gone through an education program first. So until June 1st, we will continue to issue those written warnings in the hopes that the message will come across to those residents of those communities who are most likely parking on the streets during these times.
Thank you for that clarification. That was wonderful. Yeah, education is very important for people to be aware that after June 1st, they will get a ticket. My other question, Captain, is how you guys are looking when you go around driving. You know, the chief also can answer this. Your officer, have you seen a lot of other business that was not supposed to be open that are reopened without the orders from the health department, from the LA County Health Department? Because, for example, I got an email that somebody said that they saw a bar that was open, right, in Hawthorne. And then I got another email saying that the ABC, you know, the alcohol licensing, is putting up to $10,000 fines who open the bars without the health department orders to reopen the bars. So have you seen any circumstance like that in our community?
So believe it or not, during current times, the biggest source of information coming into the police department for those types of violations, in violation of the LA County public health orders, are coming in online. And I do monitor those online complaints. And actually, I believe that we're seeing a decline in those types of complaints the longer the current situation draws on. Obviously, way back on March 20th, there were plenty of businesses, several businesses that should have shut down that did not shut down. But as this situation continued, I think that people began to take a deep breath and started to comply on their own with that public health order. So although we occasionally still do get a complaint about a specific business, and those complaints are investigated on the process that I explained earlier today, the number of those complaints that we're receiving is actually declining.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So Arnie, to you, and then to also you and Eric. So can you give us maybe a summary or a timeline? How do you see how we as the city can reopen and start to begin the process of welcome people into City Hall or to the parks or to the swimming pool. So how are we looking to do that?
Yes, for the parks, I would defer to our Park and Rec Director, Mr. Norris, Juan Norris. But as far as community pool, I don't see it happening this summer. We have to postpone it for the following year in summer of 2021. As far as City Hall and Memorial Center and Police Station, we are looking into opening to public right after 4th of July. We are already implementing measures in place in City Hall in order to welcome public to our facilities next month, including protective covers at counters, and also sufficient number of masks and sanitizers and disinfectants in the City Hall, both for employees as well as public. And we are also working on a policy for reopening that will be before the City Council, next council meeting for adoption, that include guidelines to preparation for opening to public.
Okay. But, thank you, Captain Tamatani. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Arnie, for the answer to the questions. Keep doing a wonderful job out there. Stay safe and healthy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Clerk, read the guidelines. Can you please read the guidelines for oral communications, Mr. City Clerk?
During oral communications, speakers shall have 3 minutes to state their business. The Brown Act prohibits the City Council from providing a detailed response or acting upon any items not contained on the agenda. The governing bodies as a body shall have the discretion at the close of oral communications to refer your remarks to the city manager for study, investigation, report, and or recommendation.
Were there any communications, Mr. City Clerk?
We received 3 emails and 1 phone call against AB 5, which is related to item 13 that has been pulled from tonight's agenda because it died in committee.
Okay.
Yeah, so I also would like to provide the following note related to public comments. So,
yes, sir.
Yeah, at the previous council meeting, I was asked how many people contacted us to support the eviction moratorium, and I communicated that I was not able to count the emails by that time of our meeting. I did send a message to our city attorney and interim deputy city clerk that evening with the amount of 134 emails to ensure that the amount would be recorded in the minutes. Later, I found another 4 emails in my junk email. So in total, I found 138 emails in support of the eviction of the moratorium. I want to stress that my intention was not to suppress anyone's voice who was in support of the moratorium. In addition, because the email was sent to all the council members and mayor and not addressed to the city clerk's office, I was not aware that I was supposed to read it during public comments. So my apologies if any neighbor felt that their voice was not heard regarding the topic. I have not been contacted by any neighbor who felt that way, but I just wanted to stress that it was not my intention. So that is all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So are we good? So that's okay. All right, good. So before we move on to the next part of the meeting, I just want to stress and remember that there's protocol during the meeting for members of the city council to be called upon or to request speaking. And there's a correct protocol for that. One of the most important parts is that no city council member will interrupt any other person who is speaking at the time. So no interruptions are allowed. If you want to speak, ask through the chair. You need to wait till the other person has finished speaking. Ask to be recognized through the chair. Wait to be recognized. Then once recognized, proceed to speak. And your speaking time will also need to be respected by other fellow council members. And also I encourage people to refrain from personal attacks and to just debate the issues. Very simple rules for decorum. Okay, so Mr. Clerk, may we have your consent calendar, please?
See, yes, you may. Mr. Mayor, I have 9 items on my consent calendar for your approval. Please note that I will first read item 8 and then ask the council member Taeda and Mayor Vargas not to vote because they were not present for the November 26, 2019 meeting. Then I will read the rest of the items except for item 14, which will be read after the city manager's presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and first read item 8. Approval of city council minutes for the regular meeting of November 26, 2020.
I move.
Second?
Okay. Councilmember Awad,
Yes.
Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Valentine.
Yes.
All right, the vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes. So I'm going to go ahead and read the rest. Item 9, approval of city council minutes for the regular meetings of May 14th, 2019, May 28th, 2019, January 14th, 2020, February 11th, 2020, February 25th, 2020, and April 14th, 2020. Added item 39, approval of waiver of full readings or resolutions and ordinances on tonight's agenda. Item 10, city treasurer's request approval of the warrants. Item 12, resolution number 8187, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hawthorne, California, making express findings and determinations that modifications to the 2019 California Building Standards Code are reasonably necessary because of local climatic, geological, or topographical conditions. Item 13 has been pulled. Item 15, resolution number 8197, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hawthorne, California, repealing budget allocations for city council members for the remainder of 2019-2020 and 2020-21 fiscal year. Item 16, resolution number 8198, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hawthorne, California, declaring its intention to levy street lighting assessments for fiscal year 2020-2021 and setting Tuesday, June 9th, 2020 at 6 p.m. as a time and date of a public hearing. And item 17, resolution number 8199, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hawthorne, California, accepting federal aviation administration grant in an amount not to exceed $69,000 under the Federal Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, CARES Act, and authorizing and ratifying the Director of Public Works execution of grant documents.
I move.
Oh, Mr. City Clerk, you did not read number 15, Reso 8197.
Oh, my apologies.
And
Item
also,
15.
and also on number 14, the city manager has a presentation.
Yeah, I was going to read that one afterwards.
Okay.
After the presentation.
Which one was that?
Number 14.
Yeah, I shared I was going to read that afterwards.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion on all items except 14.
Second?
Can you, please call for roll call, Mr. City Clerk?
Councilmember Awad,
Is item 15 pulled or for discussion or not?
There's a vote going on.
Well, I made the request prior to the vote.
got you. Here, I'll.
No,
Let
the votes, there's been a motion and a second made, so the vote's been called. Go ahead. Call for, you can still comment on it after. I'll give you the floor.
Okay, Councilmember Awad,
Yes.
Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Tayeda,
Yes.
Councilmember Valentine,
Yes.
Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
The vote reflects mayor and council voting yes.
Councilmember Watt, go ahead.
Yeah, for item 15, I just wanted to let the residents know that this is a required step to release these funds from my proposal to use my deferred salary and council allocations towards the health and safety of residents, to use to purchase masks or anything else to benefit residents during this pandemic time relating to COVID-19. I just wanted to clarify that one. And that's all.
Okay, good. This is and we agree with you. This is a really good idea to be able to use that money. There aren't any public events that we could donate this money for, so might as well use it for any handy things that we need to give out to the residents and for resources. So sounds like a great idea. So let's move on to item 14.
To the chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Let me ask a quick question about the why the item 13 was pulled, the AB5 situation.
Go ahead, Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, Councilmember Valentine informed me that that measure was died in committee in Sacramento.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, so let's move on to item 14, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm going to start a presentation in conjunction with COVID-19 impact to our fiscal year 1920 budget as well as 2021. We identified four revenue items that are being impacted because of this economic crisis created by COVID-19. One of them is our sales tax revenue that basically, as you see, we had a healthy revenue starting from 1819, moving forward with the passage of HH. However, this particular item was impacted this fiscal year, and unfortunately is going to be impacted the following fiscal year, 2021. Next slide, please. The other item that was identified that is being impacted is our UUT revenue. This is utility user tax. And we used to have, anywhere between $6 to $7 million a year revenue from this item. It was fluctuating between those two figures depending on utility companies' adjustments to certain rates. However, we are expecting a lower revenue and some shortfall to this particular tax item. Next one, please. Next one is TOT. This is the most impacted one. So this is transient occupancy tax that is being collected on our in our hotels, and unfortunately, due to direct hit to our tourism industry and airliners, this item is being heavily impacted. That I'm going to detail in other slides. Next one, please. Yeah, the last one is business license tax. So even though we have experienced the greatest economy ever in the first 6 months of this fiscal year, unfortunately, this item is going to be impacted in the upcoming fiscal year. As you see, 2020, which is 1920 fiscal year, we got the most in our business license, which shows our economy was flourishing and many businesses were opening, and hopefully it can go back and have a jump start again later during summer. Next slide, please. Okay, we cannot, of course, rely on our hopes. Therefore, we have to make sure that we can, use a conservative projection for our revenue and see what needs to be done in our budget. In the current fiscal year, as you can see in the last column, you see those red numbers. These red numbers are shortfalls. However, if you compare sales tax of 1920 with 1819, you see that we conservatively estimated $2 million less than what we actually received in 1819. And this is where it is paying off. Imagine if we were just going based on previous year and estimating a higher sales tax, the impact of COVID-19 would have been much bigger. So because of this, even though we are experiencing close to $3 million deficit, we actually, our actual impact is only $820,000. Same thing with transient occupancy tax. As you see, in 1819, we collected $5,970,000, but we projected $5,200,000, and now we are receiving $200,000 less based on what we collected so far. And as you know, our hotels are operating either closed or operating at 15 to 20% capacity. The other one is at the end, which includes other revenue, and in particular, fines and forfeitures that we experience a negative of $400,000. This brings a total deficit for current fiscal year 1,820,000. I'm sorry, I just misspoke. I don't call this deficit. This is a shortfall, revenue shortfall, because you will see very soon that no, we are not in deficit. In fact, we made money and we increased our reserve balance despite the COVID impact. So this is a shortfall in revenue that we could, if it wasn't because of it, we could actually bring $4 million more and add to our cash reserve, but we are not able to because of it. So in order to address this shortfall, next slide, please. Okay, in order to address this, there is a slew of measures we are taking immediately for the remainder of this fiscal year. We are deducting starting from City Council budget. We are removing travel conference, whatever left. There is no travel conference activity anyway. With non-departmental, we were able to save $206,000, and most of it is coming from reduction in retiree pension, and also from saving in education reimbursement. City clerk office, we are saving $8,900, again, just like City Council, because of saving in travel and training. City manager office, we are saving $62,600 because of a reduction in contract costs and dues. Cable TV, $1,400. City treasurer, $1,800. City attorney office, $20,000 from contract services. Finance, $66,000 from contract services, training and travel. Licensing, $12,600. And then police department, $500,000. The most of this saving is coming from our police department because of freezing PSO positions. They are not hiring, and also not purchasing certain equipment. Public Works is following police department with $281,651 by eliminating one position. That was, as you all know, Mr. Doug Crafts, our senior environmental, our senior administrator. And so that position was being eliminated. We are not hiring that to replace that position. So that plus also we are not purchasing vehicles. So $281,651 there. This was some police units that we are not purchasing. Planning department, $14,000, and park and recreation, $13,000, brings the total saving to $1,195,051. Next slide, please. So this is your cash report, or what I call it cash report. In fact, it is general fund cash balance. So as you see, we have up until March 31st, 2020, we had $41,981,587.50 in our general fund checking account, and 32 million, a little bit more than 32 million restricted funds. With the saving that I just mentioned and discussed among all departments, we are going to achieve a $30 million, a little bit more than $30 million general fund cash balance by end of June of this year, which is a great achievement. It is kind of ironic. I'm talking about COVID impact, COVID-19 economic impact, and then at the same time, I am sharing a good news with you that we did better than last year, and we were able to increase our general fund cash balance if it wasn't because of COVID-19, we could see much bigger number here. So we want to hold on to these cash balance at this point. Moving forward to 2021, the goal was not to impact this. Hopefully we can make it better, but at the minimum, we want to maintain it. That is the objective. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the situation for 2021. As you know, Council already approved our 2021 budget. Back then in March, when I presented the budget, I mentioned about coronavirus. We talked about a little bit of impact because we saw what is happening in other countries and how it is impacting tourism. So back then, for transient occupancy tax, as you see, we already went low from 5,970,000 to 3.8. So when Council was voting on 2021 budget, we had already considered much lower TOT revenue. However, our sales tax was projected by HDL, our sales tax analysts, exceeding this amount up to 30 million. Back then, we were not quite aware of how COVID-19 was unfolding. We went slightly lower than 30 million to 29.4. And then basically today, these red numbers are showing what forecasts are telling us. So I start with sales tax, as you see, assuming that retail can start their activities, and hopefully in late fall, we can see growth in activity. We can see good movement in trades and in retail, especially, and manufacturing. We are hoping not to have any more than $30 million deficit. So this is hoping that, you know, for the second half of the fiscal year, we are going to have a healthy year, God willing. The transient occupancy tax, I am becoming more and more conservative on this one, and I am reducing for another 2.3 million. This is, again, hoping that our hotels can open up and start having activities, but I don't see it. I hope, you know, that is the case, but conservatively estimating for it, I am assuming that they are going to have 40% of their capacity next year. This is based on that. If we can have 40% of their capacity starting after January of next year for the 5-6 months of next year, this is what we're expecting. The other item is utility user tax, that based on what we are collecting in the coming months, I am projecting $900,000 negative on that one. And also for business license, as you see, again, we put a conservative number. We went $400,000 less than what we collected in 18-19, and quite a bit less than what we collected this year, due to a healthy economy we experienced in the first half of this fiscal year, and up until end of February. Despite that, we put a conservative number there, but I am deducting another $2.7 million from our business license tax revenue due to the slow activity in economy. We are also expecting $1 million less in other revenue, which includes permits, construction activities that are coming, fees that are collected from those activities. Next, so this is total of 9.9, almost $10 million shortfall in revenue for next fiscal year. Next slide, please. Okay, to address this 9.9 million deficit, again, starting with City Council, We are eliminating travel conference, and with your permission, of course, with your approval, non-departmental cost is being lowered by 1.9 million, and that includes I'm sorry, that includes contract services and elimination of assistant city manager position later during the fiscal year. But mostly from contract services. And I tell you what, why is it so big? Our conservative estimate of fire department cost based on annual increases was much higher than what we received actually. So here there was another good news that we overestimated the cost. You know, part of being conservative, we overestimate the cost and we underestimate the revenue. And it worked out. Every year it worked out. And fortunately, we were able to save more cash reserve in our general fund. That's how it got paid off. In opposed to do exactly what we think it is going to happen and then spend, and then, you know, schedule a spending based on that. This is what is most disruptive to our budget and to our budget stability. The other one, as you see, $15,000 reduction to finance for next fiscal year, $30,000 reduction again to finance for hiring freeze for 6 months. Police department, another $250,000 reduction for next fiscal year for hiring freeze. And then you have a slew of public works. Some of you are familiar that back in old days when we have been struggling with our budget, we had always item during budget process contribution from public works. I briefly tell you what it is all about. So these contributions are basically the Public Works Engineering Division that when we bring grants and we apply successfully, we do the engineering, we do all the design work and construction management work in-house. We love to do it. And therefore, we bring the revenue to the city rather than paying consultants. These revenues are collected in a special account 291, and the account that is being used for matching grant. When Public Works Engineering compete with in competitive grants, we have to provide matching grant anywhere between 10 to 40% of the amount. If the grant is for $6 million, 10% is $600,000. 4%, 40% is $2.4 million. So this is how it works. And the more matching grant you can suggest to the funding agency, the more a score you get. In addition to all the other elements that you have to provide information, scope of work, cost-benefit analysis on all the other aspects of the grant when you file it with the funding agencies. Since the city general fund historically never been able to pay for these matching funds, therefore we created our own funds. We started with credit card basically, and we were able to, and our credit card was our own time, our own time and effort, our own labor that this is how we started years ago, and we have slowly been able to collect some money. This money belongs to the city. It is our money, and we have been able, whenever there was adequate funds, to provide it to city general fund. So I'm going one by one. First one, $106,000 is coming from retirement and hiring freeze. Next one is $2,500,000 transfer from account 291. That's the one I was just talking about. However, in the resolution, I am referring to it as an internal loan that at least 1.5 million of it, when city gets out of this COVID-19 economic impact, to be returned back to 291, so Public Works Engineering can continue to be competitive in applying for those grants, and also use the money for actual improvements. The other one, $1.5 million from Public Works Sewer Enterprise Funds, transfer from account 560. This has caused a huge reprogramming of Public Works engineering in the past few weeks. I was in contact with both Alan and Akbar in engineering. We are repurposing all the job assignments, which includes postponement of certain capital projects for 12 months. In lieu of that, they are going to refocus on sewer master plan updates and investigation. There are a slew of dirty videotapes that we have here in the second floor that they have to watch and find pipeline defects and log them and include them in a scope of work for new capital projects. So they are focusing on all these sewer studies, but it postponed certain capital projects for 1 year. The other one is a new grant that Public Works received for design purposes only. So a couple of engineers in upstairs, they will be focusing on a new project, Prop C, which is on Rosecrans Avenue project, from 405 off-ramp to Crenshaw Boulevard. They received these design grants that will be paying for their time here on the payroll working on this design project. Public Works is also transferring $300,000 transit to police transit. One of the functions that police department does is called transit police, and they patrol all transit stations throughout the city. And $300,000 is going toward that activity with the approval of MTA. This is in addition to what was approved originally in the budget. The other one is freeze and transfer of account from account 600. Account 600 is equipment and fleet shop in Public Works. So we were able to save some funding in that particular account up to 600,000. And then we decided also to freeze the money that City Council approved 2 months ago for purchasing equipment. That was $300,000. We decided to freeze that and not to spend it and use it for general fund for the revenue shortfall. The other one from Public Works is Measure W. Measure W is a newly passed measure a couple of years ago passed in LA County. City of Hawthorne's portion of this is about $800,000 per year that will pay for stormwater projects and for MPDES related measures. The $200,000 is allocation for admin and design work that will be covering the cost for engineering personnel. We have $108,000 from building and safety saving for eliminating one position. And also, as Mr. Lee knows, our RCC executive, past RCC executive director, $450,000 is coming from RCC. So this is coming, this good news is coming from Mr. Lee himself. So he is starting his job here with saving us $450,000. This is because of saving that RCC had that is going to be actually divided among neighbor cities according to their membership portion, which Hawthorne's portion is $450,000 or so. The other items here, as you see before you, is due to negotiation with our labor groups. So we are freezing leave payouts for all 4 member associations group, 2 from police department, and then another one, Hawthorne Municipal Association and Hawthorne Executive Group, for a total of $938,169. When you add these saving items, we can achieve $10,101,273. It lowers our expenditure from $80 million to $70 million. and can address those shortfalls. You know, in conclusion, I was going to again just mention how important it is to maintain this general fund cash balance of 30 million. We are, if council recalls last year during POB process, when I was sharing some projection files, how important it is to maintain this level of cash balance in 2026. Our projected Excel file is being updated. It's a, I call it, you know, master projection. It's a projected master file, and it is, it includes all the ins and outs of our financial activities of the city. Our finance director, Felice, is responsible to update it, and it works like a flashlight that we can see down the alley a couple of years from now, few years from now, how it looks. So I do recommend that this must be taken seriously, and if we see any shortfall in the projection, you know, measures have to be taken to stop that. I think for now, we have to be grateful that we had enough elasticity in our budget. As Peter knows, my fellow structural engineer, we call this ductility or toughness, level of toughness. We had enough elasticity in our budget to absorb this shock wave of COVID-19 and move on without impacting our general fund cash reserve. I think this concludes my presentation. I'm ready to answer if there is any question.
To the chair.
Through the chair. Through the chair.
Mr.
Okay,
Vargas.
go ahead, Councilwoman Valentine. Go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to congratulate Arnie for his foresightedness in conservatively budgeting the TOT and the sales tax so that he budgeted it in such a way that we wound up not really losing money, but actually in the end gaining. And I think it's due to his very great foresightedness in the conservative way he underestimated. I think he overestimated the expenditures and underestimated the revenues. And I think that was just a really, really smart way of accounting, and I want to congratulate him and thank him for that.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Arnie and Felice and Frank, thank you for you guys putting this budget together. And like Ms. Valentine said, you know, thank you, Arnie, for being a fiscal conservative mind that did not, you know, inflate the numbers at the beginning and give us some numbers that could be realistic or could have been, you know, much more difficult if you would have projected more dollars on those numbers. So thank you for that. A few comments that may be questioned. I see, for example, that the housing department, so it's not listed here because all the money comes from the CDBG and home funds, correct? So it's not encroached on the general funds?
Yes.
That's a correct statement?
Yes. Can you hear me, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that is a correct statement.
Okay. And also I want to thank you, you know, for putting in your 596 hours sick leave in, so you're not going to cash them in. Thank you for that. And also I want to ask you a question regarding the freeze of those vacation time and so but that is almost like a saving account for the employees, right? Because we will pay them later on when we got a good budget.
That is correct. In fact, in the past, that's how it has been. Those leave time were never cashed intermittently every year. Everybody was just banking it or using it, depending on the situation. They could use it all up. Some used to do that. Some still like to do it. Some still prefer to use those times because there is a huge tax deduction, IRS tax deduction on those leave times. So some still prefer to use them rather than cash them. However, city decided about 10 years ago to start cashing these on an ongoing basis to reduce these bank hours in the future. That's how we have been doing. So this is, as you mentioned, you're freezing this leave payout. It will be on their leave time bank for future cashing, absolutely.
And the other things, to praise you and the Public Works, to do in-house all those projects, like the administration fees and construction site fees and all those engineering that you guys create all those plans instead of contract them out. So save us, $200,000 here, $200,000 there. So that will always help us in our general fund. So thank you for that, because that is a great strategy that you has been used for this past many years, and I know Alan will continue to do that, so we can save money from those proposition and from Measure H, Measure W, Measure R, so we can keep all these in-house service, so we can transfer money from those projects to our general fund. So thank you very much, and Mr. City Manager Eric Lee, you have a lot of things to learn from Arnie, okay? keep taking notes.
No.
Thank you.
I know Mayor Pro Tem is joking, Eric.
No.
Wait till you see another city manager higher caliber than I was. I never considered myself city manager anyway. I was always public works director.
Well, and we know that Eric Lee is a smart kid, so that's why we brought him in.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem. And I want to also thank Public Works staff always. They have a passion for it. We always loved what we do. I thank City of Hawthorne, gave us an opportunity. We turned our Public Works engineering into a design office. We turned it into a construction office. We loved what we do. This was our passion. And if I am missing anything from city, is the work we used to do in Public Works. Also, I want to thank Felice and Frank for helping me with crunching these numbers and helping me with the presentation. And I thank all the departments, in particular Police Department, for their sacrifices to the point they could. And also Chief Ishif is helping me with the presentation. I thank all of you and also City Council. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So, okay, thank you so much, Arnie. Thank you to you and your staff for all the hard work that you've done. And we've been blessed to have you and, the great people that are very well trained in the finance department. And also, we should credit our city council for taking a new approach to balancing our budget, less interference, trusting in good qualified people like yourself. And, it's just the direction that our city council has taken over the last 4 years that we've reached this point. When about 4 years ago, we had about $5 million in reserve. Now we've increased that by about 600%. So now we've had that headroom that we've been able to make these small adjustments without impacting our city. So that's been great foresight on your part and on the city councils. So everybody should take credit for that. And I hate to compare ourselves to our neighboring cities, but the reality is we are in awesome shape as is compared to some of the local cities that we have in our vicinity, like Gardena, the beach cities, many of the beach cities, El Segundo, Torrance, Santa Monica's even having a bit of trouble, Culver City. So they're talking about layoffs. They're talking about not being able to balance their budget. Some of those cities are talking about bankruptcy. And of course, there's still ways to go here for our city, but how do you feel about that, Mr. City Manager Arnie Schattberg? How do you feel about that?
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I feel very grateful that, like I said, we have been able to create such elasticity in our finance. However, I also feel for my comrades in other cities. Hopefully, they can overcome their problems. We've been there before. We know how it feels. It wasn't easy in 2015 when you mentioned about having a very limited amount of cash balance there, operating cash balance, to a point that by October of that year, Wells Fargo couldn't even handle our payroll. They couldn't. They sent us a letter that they couldn't. I've been there. I wish good luck and best of luck and success for all of our neighboring cities. At the end of the day, we all help each other, especially in police department and public works. We have unwritten mutual agreements with all the neighboring cities. We have been there for them, whether it was, tons of sardines coming to Redondo Beach Pier that we had to go and clean it up for them. Hawthorne sewer truck was there day and night, pumping sardine up, or whether it was other type of emergencies in other neighboring cities. And they have been here for us. And same thing with police department. So I wish them all best of luck. Hopefully they can overcome this situation. And God willing, I am very hopeful. I'm very hopeful that we can overcome this situation with COVID-19 and we can move forward and go back to a very strong economy next year.
So kudos to our city staff, our city manager, and our city council, our elected officials, and our boots on the ground, all our city workers out there. I call for I make a motion.
Second.
Please vote. Roll call, please.
Okay, for item 14, Councilmember Awad. Councilmember Awad, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Montero?
Yes.
Councilmember Tayeda?
Yes.
Councilmember Valentine?
Yes.
Mayor Vargas?
Yes.
The vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
Public hearing, item number 20, please.
Yes. Item number 20. Now is the time and place for a public hearing to adopt ordinance number 2197 by reference the 2019 editions of the California Building Standards Code, California Residential Code, California Electrical Code, California Plumbing Code, California Mechanical Code, California Existing Building Code, California Administrative Code, California Historical Building Code, and 1997 Uniform Code for the Abatement of Dangerous Buildings, adopting local amendments to the reference codes and adding chapters 15.07, 15.13, 15.30, and 15.46. Wow. Uniform Code for Abatement of Buildings and repealing and reenacting chapters 15.04, 15.05, 15.08, 15.24, 15.28, 15.32, 15.36, and 15.40, and repealing all prior editions of the California Building Code previously adopted by the City Council. Building and Safety Department's declaration publication filed. No written communications were received.
So no written communications were received. I'll declare the hearing closed. So ordered. Can you please read the actual ordinance, please?
Yes. Ordinance number 2197, second reading. An ordinance of the City of Hawthorne, California, adopting by reference the 2019 editions of the California Building Standards Code, California Residential Code, California Electrical Code, California Plumbing Code, California Mechanical Code, California Existing Building Code, California Green Building Standards Code, California Energy Code, California Administrative Code, California Historical Building Code, and 1997 Uniform Code for the Abatement of Dangerous Buildings, adopting local amendments to the referred codes and adding chapters 15.07, Administrative Code, 15.13, Energy Code, 15.30, Historical Building Code, and 15.46 Uniform Code for abatements of buildings, and repealing and reenacting chapters 15.04, 15.05, 15.08, 15.24, 15.28, 15.32, 15.36, and 15.40, and repealing all prior editions of the California Building Code previously adopted by the City Council for adoption.
I make the motion.
Second?
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, perfect.
Please go ahead and roll call for the vote.
All right. Councilmember Awad? Councilmember Montero?
Yes.
Councilmember Taeda?
Yes.
Councilmember Valentine?
Yes.
Mayor Vargas?
Yes.
The vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
Item 22.
All right. Number 2201, second reading. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hawthorne, California, amending Title I General Provisions, Title 15 Buildings and Construction, and Title 17 Zoning to add additional enforcement strategies as a withholding of permits and adding application considerations to address delinquent fines, zoning violations, and continuing violations of the Hawthorne Municipal Code for adoption.
I make a motion.
Moved. Second?
Okay.
Please vote. Roll call, please.
Okay. Councilmember Awad,
Yes.
Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Taeda,
Yes.
Councilmember Valentine,
Yes.
Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
The vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
Item 23.
Number 2201, first reading. An ordinance of the City of Council of the City of Hawthorne, California, enacting Chapter 2.3 to Title 2, Administrative, Civil Service, and Personnel of the Hawthorne Municipal Code, enacting the Hawthorne Transparency, Disclosure, and Accountability Reform Act for introduction.
I introduce. And for the record, 2201. 2202. I think you mentioned 2201.
I'm sorry.
Just for the record.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, well, okay. Item number 24.
Okay. Ordinance number 2203, first reading. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hawthorne, California, adopting regulations related to evictions and stating the effective date and duration of the ordinance of enacting Chapter 9.71A to Title 9, Public Peace, Morals, and Welfare of Division 6, Consumer Protection of the Hawthorne Municipal Code for introduction.
I move to introduce. Okay. So thank you, sir. Item number 25.
I think I asked through the chair for that item.
Oh, we didn't hear you. Go ahead. You can still comment. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that, let the public know that this is a duplicate of the eviction moratorium that was already passed. The urgent meeting was done in haste, and this will assure that the Hawthorne residents remain protected. Nothing has changed, and we're doing it out of an abundance of caution. I just wanted the residents to understand the reasoning for having this item from the city attorney's office. And that's all.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. City Attorney, for researching this and looking through it and making sure that all the protections for the tenants are in place. And thank you for the City Council for going ahead and supporting this, moving this along. Item 25. On the City Manager consent calendar, item number 31 will be held for a vote after the closed session. We will also hold item number 28 because the City Attorney will recuse himself from that item and step off the virtual dais. Mr. City Manager, may we have your consent calendar except for item numbers 28 and 31, please.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, I have items 26 through 33 with accepting item 28 and item 31 for your approval.
I make a motion.
Second.
Please vote.
Councilmember Awad?
I asked for through the chair for this one as well.
Oh,
Discussion.
sorry, can you hear you?
Okay.
Items 27 and 26.
All right. So we need to make sure that we hear you when you're calling through the chair. Okay. But go ahead.
So let me start with the item 26. I just wanted to update the residents on the testing site that was brought to Hawthorne. The county has recognized our facility as an outstanding above all the others. We are currently processing over 100 people throughout the day. And I was able to make our testing site open to anyone with or without symptoms. No insurance is necessary. And just to reiterate, there are Spanish speakers on site for translation. That is all for that item. For 27, I wanted this item pulled to let the residents know that I'm voting no on this item. And the reason behind it is I don't believe this is the time to raise trash rates. We just passed an eviction moratorium, and all the other utilities are giving a grace period, which is the reason why I can't support this item at this time. That is all.
Okay. So I'll make a motion for, well, there's already a motion on the floor. You need to call for roll call, sir. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem Montero, did you second that? You had
I second for the item, but if so that means this item 27 has to be voted separate.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. We'll allow for that. Okay. We'll take back our motion and we'll make a motion for item 26, 30, 32, and 33. Perfect. Do I have a second?
Second.
Please vote.
All right.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Awad,
Yes.
Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Tayeda,
Yes.
Councilmember Valentine,
Yes.
Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
The vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
Item 27, I make a motion.
Second.
Okay. Councilmember Awad,
This is for item 27, correct?
yes.
No.
Okay. Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Tayeda,
Yes.
Councilmember Valentine,
Yes.
Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
Okay. The vote reflects Councilmember Awad voting no, and the rest of the council members and mayor voting yes.
Okay, we need to make sure that anybody who's making a motion for consideration to be recognized, that they make it nice and clear, because if there's a motion on the floor and it's been seconded, we'll have to go forward with a roll call vote regardless.
To the chair.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Before Dawn Harris leaves, because I see her name, I don't know if she's listened, from the Republic. I want to thank her and the Republic Service for donating boxes of bags that were given to a teacher at the Hawthorne School District that creates a mask out of the Republic Service bag. You know, those bags they gave us during the health fairs and the business expo. So the girl was able to make masks for the COVID-19 out of those bags when all the masks was sold out. So she was able to create a lot of masks through those bags. So thank you, Dawn and the Republic Service, for donating those bags to the community so we could have more masks. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so I guess we finished with all the items. City Council discussion action items. We'll talk about my item, protection for landlords and the tenants during COVID-19, the pandemic.
Mayor, you held 2 items on the city manager consent calendar.
I know, but aren't we going to be voting on one after the closed session?
Not on 28. 28, I'll just recuse myself now since it deals with my
Oh, okay, yes, go ahead, please do
So I'll
so.
step off the virtual dais.
Yes, please step off. Don't fall.
And it's Robert Kim here. I'm going to stand in for Mr. Miyahira for this item.
Okay, do we have a visual on you?
No, you know, I have this laptop from the city that doesn't have a camera, so only audio.
Okay, so we pulled back. We pulled back on that too for budget reasons, right? Is that what okay. We had to do what we had to do.
He's a genius.
So we have item number, what was it? 28. I'd like to make a motion.
Second.
Please vote. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Awad,
Yes.
Councilmember Montero,
Yes.
Councilmember Tayeda,
Yes.
Councilmember Valentine,
Yes.
Mayor Vargas.
Yes.
The vote reflects mayor and city council voting yes.
Thank you.
Can somebody accessible to our city attorney just call him back in?
Here.
Okay, yeah. All right. So I guess 31 we're going to vote on after our closed session. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so I'll move on to the city council discussion action items. And as I mentioned, protection for tenants and landlords during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we talked about the rental eviction moratorium, the one I proposed a few meetings back and that the rest of the council joined me in, along with council member Awad as well, of course. And I just wanted to make a clarification for the residents that are out there. There's a lot of questions as the protections for the renters, but I also wanted to highlight that the landlords are also protected. This is a balanced approach that the state government has taken along with your city council. So it's balanced, but there are some concerns remaining, and I just wanted to clarify those. Residential and commercial evictions, so residential and commercial tenants need to experience a substantial decrease in income due to the virus.
I can put you on speaker.
Okay.
I can put you on speaker.
We need to mute the city attorney. Can we go ahead? Okay, thank you. So residential and commercial tenants must experience a substantial decrease in income due to the virus. Like say, for example, they lost a business, they lost a job, they're caring for a sick relative, increasing childcare costs, medical bills, illnesses, decrease in hours and wages even, in order to be able to take advantage of the protection provided by the moratorium that has been augmented, the state moratorium and the moratorium that we helped augment what is already existing out there. The tenants need to provide documentation in the form of wage statements, medical records, bank statements, or other evidence that can be verified later on down the line that they lost income and what the reasons are that they're in this situation. The landlord must keep the information provided to them handy, but they need to keep it confidential. You can't mess around with that. The tenants are ultimately responsible for the rent and must pay it back within the 6 months after the moratorium is lifted. And you got to remember that the moratorium is not a rent forgiveness program. It never was intended to be. Nobody has ever said that it is. So it needs to be paid back after the moratorium is lifted, 6 months after. But that's why we as the city and state officials, county officials even have said, try to pay as much as you can as you go, so that at the end, when you need to pay this back, you're not going to be in a situation where it's just so intense, the amount that you, so large, the amount that you have to pay back that you won't be able to do that. Because at that point, there could be cause against you. So tenants who received an eviction judgment against them prior to March 4th, 2020, but have not moved out before March 4th cannot take advantage of the protections that are given by the eviction moratoriums that exist. So you need to remember that. So if there was something already existing in place, you're still subject to possible removal. If the tenant poses a health or safety risk, which is hard to prove, the landlord may evict the tenant, but will have to prove the severity of the risk to the court when they're before the court. For example, threatening harm to others, to your landlord during the eviction moratorium, but sometimes that type of thing is hard to prove in the court. So again, I want to reiterate that the Hawthorne Ordinance encourages tenants to pay as much of the rent as possible to reduce the amount that will become due when the moratorium is lifted, in order to avoid having a big old avalanche of bills and need to pay back. So it might be more difficult to be able to do once you do that. So currently there's no governmental or judicial guidance on what to do with tenants who misinterpret the moratorium and just simply stop paying rent, okay? Because they are either purposely or unknowingly. Landlords who have such tenants should explain in writing to the tenants that they have to prove their economic loss and repay the rent. So the landlords also need to let the tenants know what their rights are and lay out what the rules are, so that they can also, I guess, in a sense, protect themselves, right? They need to let them know, and so people can't claim like that they didn't know what was going on. They could either provide a copy of the ordinance that we have, or they could refer them to the city's website to read the ordinance. Otherwise, I'm sure there's tenants' rights groups or legal aid groups that can advise the tenants and even the landlords on what to do. So this is based on feedback that I've received, based on the previous meetings that we've had, where it's there's a focus on the renters. What about us? We own homes, and we also own homes that we rent. There's a lot of people that live within the city of Hawthorne that own homes that they are renting to other people, or they're renting. You guys know how there's a lot of duplexes and triplexes here in the city of Hawthorne with somebody living in the front house, and they got the 2 people or even 3 people in the back. So that's a big situation here in the city of Hawthorne. So we also want to make sure that those landlords that live within the city of Hawthorne and others also know of what their rights are. So there's protections out there for them. And of course, there's the forbearances that are being issued by the banks. And many of the banks have signed on board, but as we know, these are federally held loans, mortgages. So they should already be on board at a federal level. So they've already signed on. So any comment from City Council members?
To the chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for bringing this up. Actually, because MGI does own apartment building. So I'm part of the Apartment Owners Association of California. So they send us some sample letters, right? That exactly what you were saying, Mr. Mayor, about how this letter, state exactly about the tenants' rights and the landlord's rights, and recap about the 6 months to 12 months they have to pay their rent. So this is a sample letter. And also I have a sample payment plan between the renters and the landlords that they can create. And so they can be in the same pace when they have to pay their due rents that is past due, and actually can give them also like the specific date that they can pay up to, let's say, like you said, 6 months or 12 months. So if anybody wants these forms, I'd be willing to share, because it's a nice sample letter and a nice sample payment plan for past due rents that the tenants and landlord can sign. It's like an agreement when they're going to pay the due rent. Okay. The other thing, just to reiterate what you said, on March 25th, when the governor of California come up with a protocol, and he said that the banks was giving 90 days grace period for the landlords to pay their mortgage, right? There is agreement between the Citicorp, the JP Morgan Chase, US Bank, the Wells Fargo banks, and other state, charter banks that have been giving landlords and mortgage people 90 days to pay their mortgage that was, delayed because of the COVID-19. So since March 25th, there is an order, a protocol from the governor Newsom that talks about, the mortgage, the renters and the landlords. So they can look into that if you go online on California.gov and look at COVID-19 protocols. They will have all the order that the governor submit. Again, if anybody wants these forms, I'm willing to share, because I pay my dues to this association that sends us these forms for us to use. So it's a very useful forms. I don't know if I can give this to Dr. Paul Jimenez, that he can put it online. On the social media, so it's up to you guys, okay?
I would like a copy.
All right.
Oh, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. So, you know how we have the information on the rental eviction moratorium?
Yes.
Mr. City Attorney, does this really need, does this call for a vote on anything? Or we just left it open-ended as a vote?
No, it doesn't require a vote.
Okay, but I want to see if I could get my city council members' support on putting this information that I have before, I'll email you a copy of what I have here, Mr. City Attorney. But I'd also suggest that Mayor Pro Tem Montero's documents be put in as links here. Is that okay, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
It's fine with me if all the council agrees. I don't want to, just to be, it's like the city information, not
Yeah, of
Montero.
course, absolutely. So this is city information. We all work together. It's not just one person.
Yes.
So,
Well, there's no vote required since we adopted a policy. So let me look at the document, Mr. Montero, and I'll make sure that it's consistent with our policy that was adopted by the City Council. Okay.
And then I'll give you some of my notes too, Mr. City Attorney. And if you deem it something that we can do, if you could go ahead and have somebody put it on the website with regards to protections and responsibilities for landlords, we can title it like that.
Okay.
All right. Term limits, Mr. Awad, Council Member Awad, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to first off thank the city attorney for providing us with an ordinance that we can discuss with the purpose of placing it before the voters in November. Mr. City Attorney, when is the latest that we could have something placed on the ballot?
I recall seeing a letter addressed to the city clerk requesting it at the end of June. Although I know in the past they've accepted things as late as July, but I'm sure they prefer things earlier rather than at the last minute. One thing I forgot to do, and you had asked, and that was I forgot to ask Mr. Jimenez what the cost of an extra ballot measure would be, and I did not do that.
Yeah, we did reach out to the county clerk. We haven't heard back from them. So once we hear back, we'll definitely update the council.
Okay, Councilmember what?
Yeah, I just wanted to see if everyone had a chance to go over the ordinance that was provided by the city attorney regarding the term limits and what he constructed from researching other cities around us and giving us a good plan of action to provide this for the residents.
Councilmember Watt, no, yes, we're all in agreement. This is something that's long overdue. Of course, we also understand that term limits exist every election time where somebody's happy with your performance or not. That's an opportunity to implement term limits for anybody who's voted off. But this is good that we have, so we're all in agreement. I'm going to ask, is there a cost involved? Is this like is there a cost involved, Mr. City Attorney, for something like this? Or isn't this included in a prepaid amount of that we pay to the LA County Registrar to include ballot statements that we might include, or do we have to pay in addition?
We would have to ask Mr. Jimenez about that.
Yeah. And that's actually part of the call that we made to the county clerk's office to find that piece out, because from our deputy city clerk, she doesn't believe it should be too much of a cost, but we want to make sure we have a number before we share it with all of you.
Who's that? Mayor Pro Tem?
Mayor Pro Tem, yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, because since we're going to, Hawthorne is going to have an election, right, in November. So, and we already going to have, 3 seats, and then also the UUT tax right there, right? And then this, so we would have to put like in a package. If they would give us a number, how much it's going to cost us, or this is part of our election cycle, we're not going to pay any extra or something like that. But I do like what Russell wrote on this ordinance. And it's clear that 2-term for city council or 2-term for mayor. So I'm happy with it.
Okay, so we'll move forward with this. And hey, you know what? It's my turn to say, hey, I brought up the issue of term limits like about 4 or 5 years ago, and we had like a debate as to what it would look like, and nobody can come to agreement. So I'm actually very glad that we all reached something that we're all happy with. Mr. City Attorney, has this been well researched? In your opinion, well, obviously you're the one that did it. Was this well researched, and is it fair?
Yes.
Okay, so we can go ahead and move along with that. All right.
Okay, I'll bring it back for the next meeting, June 9th.
Okay, hopefully we
Okay.
have all the complete information by then. Elected officials' reports and recommendations. For the purpose of trying to get into the back and concluding that meeting, if you guys could keep your reports as short as possible. I don't think anybody's been out and about to really report on anything, but no.
Well, we got Zoom meetings.
Well, yeah, everybody has Zoom meetings. Okay, go ahead, Mr. David Patterson, Mr. City Treasurer, where are you at?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Don't have much. Just want to thank the community for paying attention to what's happening. Those that are tuning in or watching this being recorded. Just want to, thank you guys for participating in this process. Want to recognize the city manager for his leadership in putting together the budget. I was just speaking with the assistant city manager about, if there might be a need to touch some of the funds that we have laddered in our CD portfolio, but it looks like that won't be needed given the fact that the city manager has done a great job in being conservative with our budget and making some adjustments and keeping a lot of cash on hand. So I just want to congratulate him and the city as a whole for being able to weather this storm well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Treasurer Patterson.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. City Clerk?
Yep,
Oh,
mine's
no?
pretty short. I'll keep it at 3 minutes. So thank you to everyone for joining us from home. Again, I just have a few comments. So one, I guess, echo my Patterson's thoughts. I want to thank Arnie, Felice, Frank, and everyone else who led us to being fiscally responsible. I work in Santa Monica, and their city hall is an entire different situation. So I just want to thank you because of your leadership. It's kept many of our city hall staff in less stressful situations. So thank you on their behalf. Happy belated Memorial Day. Thank you to all the brave individuals who serve or have served our country. I wanted to highlight that via Nextdoor and Instagram, we have provided some free resources for veterans as well as for our first responders and law enforcement who feel they would benefit from speaking to a mental health professional. I'm noticing that some of my college students with PTSD are being triggered as a result of COVID-19. So it's good to know that there's free resources for them out there. The next message is from our city clerk's office. We want to acknowledge our mail carriers for their great work during this period. We want to thank them because we've been noticing that we've been getting our mail really late, sometimes 9 o'clock, 10 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so after hearing from some mail carriers, we realized that because some are calling in sick due to COVID-19, other mail carriers have to cover their shifts. So via Nextdoor and Instagram, we posted a message to show our appreciation to our mail carriers. Following is a summary of the message. This week, please take a moment to thank your mail carrier the next time they come by to drop off your mail. She or he will greatly appreciate you taking the time to recognize the work they are doing in the current times. We want to thank them for their work and also for the risks and sacrifices they made to ensure we continue sending and receiving our mail. If you're a mail carrier, we would like to thank you on behalf of our city for your crucial service throughout the duration of the pandemic. Continue fighting the good fight, and we wish you good health in the weeks and months to come. So in closing, if you see your mail carriers, please be extra nice to them. That's the end of my report. Have a good night, everybody.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to move on to the council members' reports. So I just want to let everybody know that right after we finish the council members' reports, we'll try to go immediately into the closed session so we can do that and be able to come out of that and move on to our any additional items that we have. Okay. I'm going to ask Councilmember Tejeda, Mike Tejeda.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Well, I want to thank Captain Tomatani for his presentation. And always, whenever you have a dramatic situation like we've had with this virus, all sorts of new policies and technology, they become incorporated in the way that we do things. And the idea that the police is going to be able to take reports and use Zoom and things like that, I think that's a step forward. I think that's wonderful that out of something bad, good things happen. The other thing is, Memorial Day, I've spent a lot of time with families and widows of guys that we lost in Afghanistan and Iraq, and it's kind of a special day that we recognize the sacrifices that these people have done for us. And so I've been at Arlington. I went to go see a grave of a young man that was killed, and he was from South Torrance. And when you walk through Arlington, you understand. You understand what it's taken to make this country what it is today. And we have a few Japanese Americans that are employees of Hawthorne, and I've always been taken by the story of the 442nd. Is the most decorated infantry regiment in military history, and that was made up of sons of the Japanese that were in the intern camps here in the Western states. So talk about sacrifice. The other thing is that we haven't really talked about too much. I mean, we've talked about LA County, what LA County wants to do or won't let us do, but there's about 20, 30 million people that have been unemployed because of this virus. And there's a lot of people that want to get this thing back on track as quickly as possible. And I happen to think that we're going a little bit too slow. And I hope that the county picks up the pace a little bit. And I know everybody's concerned about that, but there's a lot of risk in going too slow as well. And that's it. I wanna thank our veterans, and I want to ask people to learn a little bit about the sacrifices that our men and women have made over the years, so this country can be what it is today. And that's it. That's it. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Olivia Valentine.
Thank you, Mayor. So I want to also thank Captain Tomatani for the great report and for just letting us know about what the police department was able to do. As far as I was particularly impressed because of the way they were able to reshape their personnel, change their personnel structure so that they could keep themselves safe from the virus. And as a result of the excellent planning and the repositioning of the patrols, none of them have come down with coronavirus. And that is just remarkable to me, because I know that in other police departments, they have really suffered from coming down with coronavirus. So I want to thank our police department for being so proactive and for thinking ahead like that. I want to thank my fellow council members for approving the South Bay Fiber Network. I think we will all be so pleased with this in the future. This process is a labor of love for the South Bay COG, which now has 15 cities that have signed on to this South Bay Fiber Network. It will allow us to connect with each other on many levels. And let's say there was a real emergency. With this network, we will all be in connection with each other, and we will all be able to share information. That's one of the great things about it. There's so many others: smart parking, traffic control, video conferencing, all because of the 5G network and the increased bandwidth that the cities by themselves could not afford to pay for. But together we could all do it, and I think in the future we'll all be very happy with having adopted this program. I just wanted to address something that Council Member Tayeda said just a few moments ago, and that is about the city's opening. We all want to open, and I am very distressed about the incredibly high unemployment rate. I'm also really afraid that people will not act as responsibly as they should, which is why I want to see mandatory masks being worn when people go in retail establishments and when they gather in large groups, because I'm afraid that they won't use social distancing like they should. I've seen so many instances where states have opened up and people on the beaches are out and about, no masks, no social distancing. And I fear that this will only result, if we go too fast, it will only result in a spike, and we might have to go back all the way to lockdown again. I would not want that to happen, but I worry that we have to, with the increased ability to go into different establishments and have the retail open, and open the parks and open up again, I think the public needs to know that this is a serious virus and they need to take it seriously. They can't afford to be cavalier about how this disease is transmitted, because it's transmitted very easily, it's very contagious, and the insidious part about it is that someone can be infected and be around you and you wouldn't even know it, and maybe they don't even know it. That's why you have to maintain social distancing. So I think we have to do both. I think we have to reopen, but I think it's critical that the public take responsibility for the fact that this disease is very easily transmitted and not easily transmitted, and unlike most other diseases, people have it and can have it and have no symptoms. I think that's what makes it so insidious. I don't have anything else except that I did find out at a COG meeting that I attended virtually that DMV licenses have been extended for drivers 70 and older for 120 days if they're expiring in June and July due to the COVID-19 crisis. Anyone who is 69 and under gets an extension through July 31st, but seniors 70 and older get an extension for 120 days if their licenses are expiring in June and July. And I want to thank my council members for very spirited discussion and debate on all these issues, and that's all I have. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilmember Hadar Awad.
Mayor, I want to thank our finance department team, which includes Felice and our city manager Arnie Shadbeer, for coming up with these ways and ideas of safeguarding the city and not allowing us to sink. It's a very difficult time as you see other cities around us beginning to sink, beginning to take a dive, but because of the tightening of the belt of both our city manager and our finance department, you've kept us afloat not only for this year, but giving us a fighting chance for next year. So I wanted to commend you on those accomplishments. To piggyback on what Mike, Councilmember Toledo, said about Memorial Day, it's a shame that we couldn't really show our love and our passion and our commitment to our veterans, especially during this time. It's a harder time for them as well. Not only do they have to deal with their pre-existing issues prior to COVID-19, but now they're dealing with all this on top of it. So any way we can kind of show love and show our commitment to them for all they've done for us is the least we can do. I want to thank Gary Tomatani from the police department, as well as our Chief Ishii, not only for giving us this presentation today of what they're doing to combat this pandemic, but also for coming out to the celebration of Eid this past Sunday at the Memorial Center. It was a huge success. I believe they actually had to close the ceremony and event a little earlier because the line kept wrapping around. It was wonderful. It was beautiful. I know everyone had fun. PD sure had fun as well. So I wanted to thank them for that. I also wanted to congratulations to our high school scholarship winners. Sadly, our high schools could not hold their traditional award night, but they all did virtual events, which was wonderful to see them all participating and coming out with their own videos. The last two items, actually, just the last one item. I just want to invite the public to my first virtual town hall on Zoom. I have a medical officer from Los Angeles County joining the meeting to answer residents' questions about COVID-19. The town hall is this Thursday at 4, and you can register on my website at haderhawthorne.com. And happy that everyone here at the residence are able to jump onto our Zoom meeting, watch, and that is all.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, thank you to all of you, my colleagues and the public. If you listen, thank you very much. Especially, I want to say thank you to all the staff, because we know all the departments is going to make some sacrifice because of the little budget cut. But we know that your future is bright because we're not talking about furloughs or layoffs. So thanks to Arnie, Felice, and Frank, and all the head departments, especially the police department, and all of you that sacrifice a little bit so we can have this outstanding budget for our 2021. Even it's a little, hookups in there, but it is a great to see that we still have a healthy reserve. Again, welcome to Mr. Eric Lee. Welcome to our team, and I know that you are going to be a great addition to all of us. So I'm looking forward to sit down with you and talk about the goals and objectives for our city for the near future and the long future. Okay. Again, I'm going to thank Samuel English and Tamatame and the chief, and I know Arnie also participated of putting the presentation together. And it's wonderful to hear about that. We are well informed because we have staff that communicate with us almost every day. And also for the police department to communicate with the people and the business, that they're not there for punishment. They're there for education and compliance without punishment. So that is a very reward to hear that our staff is doing an outstanding job helping people, helping the residents, help the business, and not punish them. So that is a tremendous achievement for all of us, and especially for the police department and the public works and everybody out there. I did attend a Zoom meeting for the sanitation district, and they're going to come up with a program towards the end of June. Is a rebate for the water conservation because they're thinking that people, especially in the business, use less water. So they probably is going to have some rebates up to 20% of your water bill that you can apply sometime maybe July 1st, because they want to finish the year June 30th, and then the new fiscal year they're going to be able to give everybody a rebate because of your low usage of your water during this COVID-19. So just keep looking for that. It's going to come probably through some of your utility bills, and maybe next month I will provide a website that you can go and claim for your rebate. The other thing that I received, and the Congresswoman Maxine Waters left me a message on my phone. She sent me a flyer that this Friday, May 29, from 12 to 3, they're going to give about 15,000 meals in Inglewood. But Maxine Waters represents our district, and is going to be at the Crozier Middle School at 120 West Regent Street, Inglewood. I send Miss Dr. Paul Jimenez this flyer to see if we can put in our social media, on Instagram, because she wants to make sure that people do register before they go, because there is a website for them to register, but they expect to give 15,000 meals, box meals, to the families from 12 to 3, Friday the 29th. So look for our social media, especially sent by Dr. Paul Jimenez and his intern. Thank you for doing that in advance. And again, it's Friday. Memorial Day weekend, yes, it was kind of a little sad, that we could not be out there with our, posts and legions and all the veterans group that celebrate the life of those that we have lost in all these wars to protect our freedom. And but it was good to see on Facebook and on the news that some event did took place with a few people, and of course, all those that have gave their life for us to be able to have a democracy of this United States of America. So thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, council members. Any go backs, Mayor Pro Tem? You know you do that sometimes. No, okay. So again, welcome to Assistant City Manager Eric Lee. Welcome. And we have a great mentor in our city manager, Arnie Schadberg. But we know that you're a great talent, so you guys will be able to do great things together. So so we're all kind of anxious. Okay, something happened here. So we're all kind of anxious with regards to getting back to what's called a normal life. Will it be the same? We'll approximate what we had before, but there's going to always be some changes with regards to that. Things that maybe we should have focused on back then. Maybe washing your hands. Maybe making sure you didn't sneeze on somebody else. Maybe covering your coughs, sneezing into your forearm, making sure that thing, whatever you have, doesn't spread. So it's definitely, we're going to be implementing some things that are going to help protect us, and we'll approximate what we had before, but it's not going to be exactly the same. But everybody is anxious to get back out there. So once you do, the stores, the parks, it's not going to be full to full capacity. So there's going to be some restrictions as we get closer and closer and flatten the curve. There has been a flattening of the curve, but it could be misleading. So as my colleagues have said, make sure you guys protect yourself, stay covered, make sure you wear your face masks, and stay at home if you, there's really nothing that you need to do on the outs. So another thing that I wanted to mention is that, there's been talk about a vaccine, and yes, a vaccine is necessary for a situation like this. But also in the meantime, let's build up our immune system. Let's do exercise within the home. Let's eat healthy. Let's do exercise. Remember, it is okay to take a walk around the block, protect yourself, keep distance from anybody that might be passing by, but it's important that we exercise, because that way our own bodies will be able to fend off any virus that comes along inside our bodies, like the flu, the COVID-19, the coronavirus, and anything else that might impact us. We'll be able to fight it off. So let's focus on that as well, and also the safety measures, and the finding of a vaccine as well. That's important also. So let's make sure we also pay attention to that. With regards to Memorial Day, I just wanted to highlight the actual meaning of Memorial Day. And it's not, the purpose of it is not to have like hot dogs and to have, to have like picnics and barbecues. And I don't know, but when somebody says Happy Memorial Day, that just doesn't seem to be an appropriate salutation, because there's really nothing happy about Memorial Day. What it really is, it's a solemn day of remembrance where we remember those who have fallen, the sacrifices that they've made, the families that have been impacted, the families that have lost a father, a brother, a daughter, or a son, or a wife, etc., to be able to ensure that we have the freedoms that we have, defending us against other countries that want to harm us, terrorists that want to invade our country and hurt us. And they've passed away because of that in defense of our country. So we need to remember what the true meaning of Memorial Day is and keep all those who have passed, their families, their friends in our prayers, so that there will be at least some consolation for them as they move along in life, and that we're grateful in our hearts and in our minds and in our prayers for everything they've done for us. So let's just keep that in mind. So finally, I just want to thank all my council member colleagues, Councilwoman Olivia Valentine, Councilmember Hadar Awad, Councilmember Mike Dayeda, Mayor Pro Tem, our City Clerk Paul Jimenez, our City Treasurer David Patterson, staff, and everybody who's doing their part. Everybody's pulling their weight, reaching out to the community, doing things for the community, answering and fielding any questions and concerns that all our residents have, making sure we're getting information out there so that everybody feels safe and knows how to protect themselves. Everybody is pulling their weight, and that's why Hawthorne is in the situation it is, with minimal impact in midst of the situation that we have compared to other cities, whether it's economically, whether it's with impact of the actual disease itself. There is still cause for concern, but we're doing our part as a team, and I want to congratulate every single one of you for doing your part in all that. Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the closed session. I urge my city council member colleagues to let's just move into that almost immediately so that we can go ahead and vote on that, and we can make our way to whatever we need to do after the meeting. Okay? So is there anyone who wishes to speak on this closed session? If not, I'll declare oral communication closed. So ordered. I will now recess the city council meeting to conduct a closed session for a conference pursuant to the agenda. We're in recess.
As the nation's doctor, I often get asked, what should I do if I think I might have coronavirus?
People who are sick should stay home. You don't go to an emergency room, you don't go to a clinic. You get on the phone and you ask for advice and instructions from your physician.
We don't want you to go into the ER or the doctor's office without talking to them first, because you might spread coronavirus to someone else. Please visit coronavirus.gov for more information.
New York is the canary in the coal mine. What happens to New York is going to wind up happening in your city and in your community. We are going to fight every way we can to save every life that we can. We are all first responders. Your actions can either save or endanger a life. Job one has to be save lives. That has to be the priority.
We have to stay home.
Not just to protect yourself, but to protect others.
Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. 2, arm's length. Just because you're at home
doesn't mean that we can't be alone together.
Together.
Wash your hands. Scrub them while you sing the song. Wash. Rub your hands and fingers and the places in between. Using soap and water makes your hands so clean. Wash your hands. Great job, you're almost done. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now dry.
Wash your hands for 20 seconds, just like Elmo.
How do you protect yourself and others from coronavirus?
Avoid touching your eyes, your nose, and your mouth.
Wash your hands often with soap and water for 20+ seconds.
Clean and disinfect surfaces and objects.
Together, we can help slow the spread.
When you're interacting with others who are not members of your household in both public and private spaces.
The City Council meeting is called to order. We have met in closed session. And Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, yes, you're going to vote on item number 31, the HMEA side letter.
I make a motion.
Second.
Please vote.
We don't have Paul Jimenez.
Okay, Mr.
We don't have Dr. Paul Jimenez.
Chief, well, no, let's see, there's no conflict. Mr. City Treasurer, can you just please call for the roll call, please?
As I'm trying to unmute, I'm muting. We got two people doing it at the same time. Roll call, please.
Just call our names, starting from newer.
Start with
Whoever you want.
Hadar Watt,
Yes.
Councilman Mike Toledo,
Yes.
Councilperson Olivia Valentine,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Alex Montero,
Yes.
and Mayor Vargas.
Yes. Okay. That concludes our meeting. Is there anything further from council members or staff?
May I, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say tomorrow is a big day. Spacecraft Dragon, designed and built by SpaceX here in Hawthorne, tomorrow has a very complicated mission. It's for the first time that it's taking astronauts to a space station. It's a great achievement. I'm going to pray for them for 100% successful mission until tomorrow. This is a great milestone achievement for SpaceX and for its continued mission to take astronauts to space. Tomorrow, this event, weather permitting, atmospheric condition permitting, is going to occur 4:33 p.m. Eastern Time from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, and two of our veteran servicemen, test pilots, and astronauts. They are by the name Douglas Hurley and Robert Benkin are going to take a ride in this spaceship to a space station. So let's hope best of luck and 100% success for them. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is absolutely a very, very important affair. And this is the first time there's generations of spacecraft that are out there that have taken people to space. American spacecraft, of course, the Russians have their own system over there. But for us, this is like the fourth or the fifth type of spacecraft that is delivering humans from the United States into space. We had the space shuttle before, some of the modules that we had before, like the Gemini, the Apollo. So those were different generations. So this is I believe the fourth or fifth. Now it's the first privately owned and manufactured spacecraft that's taking a human payload into outer space. And it's all been built, designed here in the city of Hawthorne. So we have something to be proud of, right?
Very much so. Yes, very much so.
Right, Mr. Assistant City Manager Eric Lee? Isn't this like the right time to be where you're at?
It sure is.
Okay, so
Mr. Mayor, ask Arnie what he has in the conference room.
Oh,
yes.
Well, we can let also Hadar can run over here if he wants.
Some cake, to welcome Eric Lee here to joining us.
Excellent.
So it's a good, great moment to celebrate this. Please all go to conference room. There are already pieces of cake available.
All right. So if there's nothing further, I declare this meeting adjourned. So ordered.
All right. Thank you, Chief.